Welcome back to Reimagine 2020. I'm Yonah Hochhauser, and today I'm glad to be joined by Ouriel Ohayon, CEO of ZenGo. Ouriel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Now, first off, for those who might not know who you are, you want to give us a little bit of your background, kind of how you got into blockchain?
Really curiosity. I came late to the space. I've been in tech for a couple of decades and saw a few revolutions from the rise of the internet to mobile and social. And I discovered late crypto and blockchain, but when I saw it, I saw a new revolution that was basically 3-4 years ago. And so really late, but once I saw it, I got the virus, as they say, and since then I decided to spend the rest of my career into that space because it's basically a revolution happening under our eyes, and so decided to learn about it, invest into it, and at some point create a company about it. And this is how I got into the space and building a company about it. And this is how the idea of a company in crypto started. And then we had to find the idea for ZenGo. That came a bit later. I can explain how, but that's the path that I went through.
Now, it's funny because I find there's two types of people in the crypto sphere. There are people who found this new technology and got excited and hopped in. And then there are people who were part of the last wave, which was the internet revolution, and then now found this new technology and, oh, this is the new thing. So you were a former executive at ICQ and AOL. Those were the early days of the internet. And a lot of people compare the two, this brand new revolutionary technology, which was, the internet, and then now with blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Do you see those similarities? And if so, what lessons can we learn from the internet?
So basically, you observe patterns and you see when certain things happen. You see the number of developers spending time on building things. You see certain macroeconomic factors that make an idea right at a certain moment in time. And for crypto, everything was pointing to a direction of a revolution, like a critical size of developers spending time on building things that are basically orthogonal and disruptive to a current financial system. A financial system that is in crisis, sort of economies all around the world that are questioning themselves and are certain in very big troubles and some on the verge of troubles. And then you have like a perfect recipe for something that needs to be paid attention to. And so now it's easy to say it because a few things have happened for the past 3 years. But at the time, it was already pretty obvious for people who were paying attention. So for me, it was like, I saw it very early on, like I'm an early adopter of many things. I saw it with the rise of the internet in the early days with the computer. I saw it with the rise of social applications. I saw it with the rise of mobile computing and mobile phones and the iPhone and Android. And so all of those has a very, very strong common patterns, and which I described before. And so for me, it was pretty obvious that this was happening.
And similarly with the internet and with any new technology, first becomes the early adopters, and especially with the internet and with the new tech wave, it's usually the tech savvy, the tech nerds, the developers, the programmers who use it first, because usually the user experience isn't really there or easy. If you could go back to the internet days, but before domain names, you actually had to know the IP addresses, and we see that now with crypto, that it's not so easy to use. It's not so easy to trade. People have to remember their private key. What if I lose my private key, or I give it to a centralized exchange to hold, and that kind of defeats the purpose in the first place? But you guys at ZenGo figured out a pretty unique solution. I'll let you explain.
We think we figured out the best solution.
Listen, I've looked into it. I really like it. Maybe you could tell me what downsides, but it seems to both be secure, let the person hold their assets, while also giving them a backup if they lose it. I mean, I'll let you explain.
Yeah, so as you said, the crypto space is a very complicated space. It reminds me the early days of the internet, on how you connect to the internet, and you needed a modem and a password, and you need to plug all that to a technician to have at home. And so here it's obviously a different topic, but still the same level of complexity, which has another additional layer, which is like talking about money. So it's not just complexity, it's also talking about something that's very important to a lot of people. So what I mean is that what we wanted to do is to basically make the complexity completely go away without giving up on the key principles of this industry, which is owning and controlling your assets, and basically seeing being in control of your funds. So how do you do that? How do you make things dramatically more simple without really adding the complexity? There is a weird sound with your microphone every time you touch something, so I'm letting you know for the listener. Yeah, it's still happening. Okay. So we wanted to make sure that we would not give up on the principles, still make sure, and we could not find a way with the traditional recipe, and all the solutions in the market require from the user either to trust a third party, which is a custodian, which is basically, as you said, defeating the whole principle. You're basically building finance 1.0 and you replace the dollars with something else, and everything has to be trusted. And when something bad happens, and something bad happens and happens every week, nearly on a weekly basis, a bad event happens, people say, oh man, I lost my funds because I gave my funds to someone else. And the second school is to basically be in control, but boy, this is complicated. You need to be a security expert. You need to go through a tedious process of setup, and that's really problematic because you need to understand what a private key means. You need to, it's not just the setting up, you need also to safekeep it. And there is all sorts of cases that you need to think about. What happens if you lose your phone? What happens if you move? What happens if you die? What happens if, etc. So we wanted to make that completely go away, and we built a new system which we called keyless cryptography, where basically you do not depend on a private key, but you remain in control. And we've done that by basically building up a new cryptographic stack based on multi-party computation. The user doesn't need to know that, but it's basically the core of this keyless basis. And at the end of the day, you end up with a very beautiful, crisp, simple mobile application, which looks very familiar, which does not even require any sort of password. You basically, starting from 0 to crypto in a few seconds. We measured it, I think our average time is 19 seconds. And then you're getting with a crypto wallet that you completely control. And from there, with ZenGo, you can send, receive, buy, trade, earn, all the things that you need to do when you want to be part of the crypto economy. So really, it's that simple.
Mm-hmm. And you guys are basing it off biometric data. Is that just facial recognition, or is that also I can do with my fingerprint scanner on my phone?
So it works basically on any phone that has a selfie camera. It has to be a modern phone. Any phone that is more than less than 5 years old will work. Because they all have it's not just the biometrics, but also the sophisticated CPU and secure enclave and all the security to handle all the processes that happen in the background. But basically, nearly all the smartphones on the market are compatible with ours, meaning that there is no particular need of a particular hardware, like a hardware wallet that you need to buy or something like that. And you need an email. So everyone has an email. An email that you control can be any email. Doesn't have to be an email with your name. We don't require your documents. We don't require all of that. You just put an email. You go through a simple number of steps. The last one being encrypted biometrics of your face, and boom, you're ready.
Mm-hmm. And could the same technology be used to be developed to be used with also the fingerprint scanner? I mean, I know everyone has. They trust, Apple mostly has face unlock or face ID, but it seems like more phones have fingerprint scanners. Could the same be done with the fingerprint?
So the fingerprint scanning and the face ID are device biometrics, so meaning that they control the access to your device. Okay, and we do use device biometrics. We use on top of that another layer of biometrics, which is not depending on the device and not depending on the operating system, which is a cloud biometrics, and which basically look at the map of your face. So it's not taking any picture or recording. It's happening on your device, so we don't have access to it, and we don't see you, and actually no one sees you. And so this technology is used on top of fingerprint technology or face recognition technology, which is tied to the device. And so this enables us to be working with any sort of devices, as long as you have a selfie camera that is working.
So essentially, it's your face is part of a multi-sig wallet where your face is one of the signatures and on your server is another signature in order to unlock the wallet?
Yeah, and a way to call that is like we call it 3FA. You know, there is like 2FA where you have like the password and the second password.
Yeah.
And so here we call it 3FA because you have like three factors. You have your email with a temporary password which is done by magic link. You have the access to your cloud which you control, and then your face encrypted biometrics. But another simpler way to think about it is we just say that you are your password. So you become your password. And that means that for the very first time, not just in crypto, in the entire fintech space, only you can access your account, meaning that no one can get into you, even if they phish you, or even if they hijack your mobile phone number, or even if they have a 3D mask looking like you, and I showed you one just before. So this is really a step improvement compared to any system, and we know how many hacks are happening in the industry on a daily basis.
For sure, and especially, you know, many people, like you said, 3FA, and people sometimes they feel secure with just 2FA, which usually is an SMS to the phones, and we've seen it time and time again in this industry. SIM swapping, where people have to realize that using their cellular number as a second factor authorization is not secure enough if you're actually want to secure something valuable. We see it again, and no matter where you are in the world, we've seen it here in Israel. I've even tried it myself. I called up T-Mobile in America, and I had my friend's phone number. I called him up, and I pretended to be him, and I got them to send me a SIM card, and they paid for the shipping. It's crazy. So, you know, clearly,
social engineering, what you just experienced, very, very common. But there are all sorts of ways. You know, Ledger, a famous hardware wallet, has been, their database of email has been hacked, 1 million addresses, and people are now receiving fake emails asking to download the new software. And once you do that, you will lose your private keys because you depend on a password. As long as you depend on a password, you are liable. And so we built a system where you do not depend on a password. It's the true revolution. So it not only makes the onboarding better, but also the recovery process better. It also makes the entire experience way simpler and more secure.
And do you think if you guys are successful enough in the crypto space that this could actually spill over to the traditional tech as well? I mean, I know I'm so frustrated with having to deal with passwords. Can this same technology be used to access my Google account and everything else?
Certainly. Yeah. But we focus on just one thing. So we believe that a lot of things, by the way, are going to come to crypto, including access to services. And so we could imagine a future where ZenGo become the path to access any type of service. And so we're just starting where we're starting, meaning by doing our own stuff, and by betting on an industry we believe it will become very big. But yeah, I think keyless and passwordless in general is the future. It's really, really hard to do it right. But once you do it right, it unlocks all sorts of possibilities, and that makes at least in the space where we're in, things much, much easier. And people realize it when they try it. Like when they tried it, they say, "Oh my God, I could not have tried something like that before. Yeah. Why am I using all these other things that are?" And you know it usually when you change to a new phone, or when you move to a new device, or you break your phone or whatever. Like at that moment, you feel the pain, and this is where we are. We're waiting for you at that moment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could tell you from personal experience, it really is frustrating to have to deal with passwords all the time. And this is exciting new technology. Now, is this aimed mostly at retail holders, or because, like, let's say you're an institution and you want to have multiple people have access, but you can't carry around his face with you all the time. So how do you deal with institutions that want to give access to more than one person?
We don't. We exclusively focus on individual investors, at least today. We will have more offers in a future, but right now we want to really become the best choice for individual investors. And so we don't worry or don't deal or don't build for other use cases. We don't build for institutions. We don't build for family offices. We don't build for this, and that. And it's not that we don't have demand. We've had multiple conversations about extending to others. But the secret of a startup success is laser focus. So we exclusively focus. We don't do gray label. We don't do white label. We don't do we build a service. We believe that we are building the best option for individual investors, and we want to just do that because it's complicated enough already.
For sure, and I think you picked the right target audience, because those are the ones who actually do need the help
Yes.
there with this complication. Now, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, and like you mentioned, we're trying to find a solution that allows you to still hold control and own your assets. But how does this work? Let's say ZenGo servers go down, the internet, you can't communicate with ZenGo. Does that now make me lose access to my fund?
So it depends what you mean by go down. There is every single service and software has bugs and goes down temporarily. It happens all the time with any kind of software, including decentralized services. So if you have a temporary down, it doesn't mean that you lost access to your funds. They are still there. In ZenGo, all the funds are on chain. So you can see your funds anytime, even if you cannot open the ZenGo app. You just go to an Explorer and you will see your funds there. The serious question is, what happens if we are completely down, meaning we never recover, and what happens to your funds? And so we thought about that long and hard, and we built from day zero a guaranteed recovery solution. We call it guaranteed recovery, meaning that if for any reason we're unable to operate, servers go down, whatever, we die, doesn't matter what, and we're unable to operate the servers on which you depend for co-signing transactions and accessing the application, then there is a system that takes over and that basically allows you to access your funds even without us. And then you can move your funds to any destination of your choice. So we thought about it. It's actually explained, it's published, it's audited every quarter by a third party, and the code is deposited in GitHub also to be verified. And so the system is not supposed to lock you in, even in this very extreme case.
Wow, it seems like you guys think of everything. And by the way, I knew all these things. I'm just asking these questions so that the viewers can know, because I've actually done the research, and I must say I'm very impressed, with the business you guys are running and the product you guys are offering. And so that's why I was wondering, what your thoughts were on what other people are doing, because PayPal recently announced that they will allow the buying and selling of certain cryptos on their platform, but they're not offering the keys. You don't actually hold the assets. So what do you think, as someone who kind of has a service that isn't custodial, but that allows for the streamlining of crypto and making it simpler for users? What are your thoughts on how PayPal is going about it?
So first, I have to admit that this is something I've been waiting for at least 3 years. Actually, I predicted that PayPal would come to crypto in 2017. It's public, it's on the blog. And I said Square and PayPal will come and they will be big players. And this is indeed this pivotal moment in the industry where, it's not just an iconic brand name. It's one of the biggest financial institutions in the world finally acknowledges the opportunity. And the reason it matters is because it's going to enable a lot of people that were not naturally exposed. And the crypto, owners today is a very tiny audience. We're talking about tens of millions of people. So here we have the opportunity to scale it to hundreds of millions of people, to at least not just be aware, because the awareness of Bitcoin is pretty strong, but to actually be able to experiment what it means to trade Bitcoin. It will not be the experimentation of owning Bitcoin, because indeed, as you said, PayPal will only allow you to trade in and out. So they basically, it's like an IOU where you are trading a stock, but you don't own the stock certificate, but you can buy and sell. So this is exactly what you will be able to do. At some point, they said that they would also enable you to send crypto to the merchants, but the reality is that they are selling the crypto and then you're selling dollars to the merchant. So it's not really that. So they're offering a half vanilla taste of crypto, which is a first step. But actually, I must say that I'm pretty happy about that, because it's going to make our marketing so much easier. Because very quickly people will want to do more. They will want to move their funds in and out. They will want to pay for services that are not plugged to PayPal. They will want to send money to their friends. They will want to send money to their PayPal friends, and they will not be able to do that. And so they will naturally search for better solutions, and we will be right there in the corner for this moment. So I applaud it with two hands for two reasons. First, because it's a pivotal moment in the industry, but also because it's going to make our work much easier and actually much more important also. Because there's no point in building crypto if what you do is basically rebranding financial 1.0 and replacing fiat money with virtual currency, right?
Yeah.
What you really want is to enable a digital native economy, a borderless economy. And so our vision is to build a wallet that people will be able to use, and not for speculation and trading, because there are many good solutions for that already, but for a real native economy used for their everyday life. And so this is a step way beyond what PayPal is doing. And I think they still have, they first have to launch. They will launch only in the US, by the way. So there will be some time before they reach other territories. Because our non-custodial, we're serving 180 countries already. But of course they're giants, so they will of course capture a nice market share. I think they will compete first with big exchanges, which were the prime destination for people who wanted something that was, I would say, easy to trade, but not necessarily for owning. And so all the exchanges and the Robinhood that were enabling that, and the Cash App and things of that nature, those will be frontally competing with the new PayPal service. And I think we will be at the other spectrum, where people will at some point want to do more and will need to do more, and PayPal will not be by design able to do that, and we will be there.
And do you think that is what's going to happen? That'll be the in for these native crypto companies like yourselves, where you'll let PayPal give newbies, let's say, a taste of what it's like to get them rid of the fear of crypto, and then say, hey, you've got an exposure, but now do you want to see what it's like to really own cryptocurrencies? Yeah,
I mean, we can compare it to a toy shop selling toy cars and a real car shop selling real cars. Like, so I can go to Toys R Us and say, hey, here is like a virtual electric car, okay? And here is the remote control, and have fun, but it will never give you the taste of what it means to drive an electric car. For that, you have to go to Tesla, right? And you have to pay a lot more money. And you have your real car, and it's yours, and you have a certificate of ownership, and you can drive it, and you can do whatever you want with it because it's yours. And so I think it's exactly the same difference. PayPal will give you a taste of playing with the toys, and once you will want, the real thing, then you'll move. And not everyone will want that, by the way, and not at the same moment. And it's fine. I think there is room for both use cases. But if you want to send money to friends and families, if you want to pay for certain things that can be paid only in crypto and not in fiat, if you want to participate in decentralized economies, if you want to basically be in control, if you want to not depend on customer support of PayPal, which is legendary, not that great. If you want all those things, then you will need something else. And I also anticipate that many banks will follow PayPal and will try to do the same thing. So those are the same cluster of services. And there will be a second cluster of services that are basically pending on the other side and will give people more powers, more access, more control, and will be part of this digital first borderless economy that we want to power.
And I think that companies like yours, ZenGo, is really changing the conversation, because without companies like yours, it would go like this. If you're new to crypto and you don't understand it, then just buy it on PayPal. You won't own it. You won't, but you'll be able to get exposure, because the only alternative is buying it yourself and dealing with wallets and exchanges. It's too confusing. But with companies like yours, where you're providing that UI UX experience that make it easier, and possibly, by the way, it might be easier to log in to your ZenGo wallet than it would be to log into PayPal if you get a new device or anything like that.
For
right?
Sure.
And so that's changing the entire story, because now there's not really any downsides if the user experience is there. So
correct.
That's I think has been one of the big barriers of entry for cryptocurrencies, besides people not getting exposure, not understanding, just the lack of good UI UX. That makes it that, if at least I'm going to use words for America, but Venmo, which is PayPal's app, where Alipay, if you're in China, wherever you are, every country has their own digital. In Israel, there's Paybox and Bit. Every country kind of has their own digital payment for fiat money. That's so easy. I want to send my friend $5, 5 shekel, whatever it be. I put his phone number and I press a button. When do you think we're going to get there in the crypto sphere, to the point where the UI UX is that simple that people don't have to worry about or know about what's going on behind the scenes, or have any previous knowledge, except that's my friend, press button, money sent?
I think we're already there. It just requires, it's like learning a new language. You cannot expect to have access to an entire new country and not know the native language. So there's a little bit to know, but very little. You just need to know that transactions are irreversible, and you need to know a little bit about blockchain addresses. Although I think also this will be abstracted. But once you know those like 2-3 basic stuff, the quality of the product today and the services are good enough for anyone to get started. I think there is this myth that we need to wait for UI and UX to be better. That's it. It is possible today. And how do we know? We know because we see it on a daily basis. We see the type of users we are attracting. We attract grandmothers. We attract people that are non-tech savvy. We attract independent workers that are freelancers, photographers, real estate agents, teachers, coaches, people that are not in the space, and they are super happy with the product that we've built, and probably there are a few others too. I think it's already happening. What is missing is a vast wave of education and a vast wave of media of media that goes in favor of the industry, because quite frankly the vast noise in the media industry is pretty negative regarding crypto, and it's been for a reason, very negative, because of the legacy of how it's been used by criminals. And it's true, you cannot ignore that. But the same was true of the internet. The UI and the UX today is already good, and we have the proof. We have the product, we've built it. I invite anyone to try it, and I'm guaranteed that you will be blown away. You will not be able to compare it even with PayPal. It's like significantly simpler, significantly better. And once you've done that, you cannot go back. You will want everything to be like that. And this is happening in 2020. So I think we've reached already that point, and the move of PayPal and others, I think others will follow, will just like help that acceleration happening.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, seriously, I've interviewed many projects for all these conferences, and I'm really not just saying this. This might be the first one that I'm actually going to start using, just because I do my research before I interview, and to be honest, I was kind of shocked. I was not aware of you guys before this interview, but once I looked in, I'm like, okay, this seems like it's a really good idea. I mean, it seems so far all the solutions in the space have either been be more secure, but harder to use and more complex, or super easy, but you don't actually have control of the fund. So kudos to you guys for coming up with this. Now, this is the REIMAGINE 2020. This is our Halloween themed event. We will be airing this on Halloween. And so I'm asking every person that I interview the scariest crypto story that they have. What's the scariest crypto story that you have?
The scariest? Well, every time I have to, because sometimes I have to use a hardware wallet. It's a nightmare. Or even like something like MetaMask. It's just like any time that I have to use like this password-based stuff, especially knowing what we've built is like a deep point of deep frustration. So it's not a nightmare. I don't have like nightmares about it, but it's like so annoying and so painful and so frustrating. that really aided. Also, sometimes you have like this scary moment where those wallets have to take the time to synchronize again with the blockchain, and so you have that, and you don't know if your funds are still there. I do remember that once, you have sometimes the buttons on the hardware wallets, and one of the buttons like stopped reacting, like for even like a fraction of a second, and then it worked. But for that fraction of a second, I said, "Oh my God, I lost everything," And I know there are like seed phrases and backup and all this kind of stuff, but it's really getting to your adrenaline very quickly, and I'm sure that many people are having the same kind of feeling when they use those products.
For sure. Well, that is scary, and that's why wonderful that we have ZenGo to kind of ease the fear, at least in that area. You still have to worry about price volatility if you are owning, but at least the user experience is easier. So Ouriel, I appreciate the work you guys are doing over there at ZenGo, and I suggest that any viewers check them out. They're very cool. I'm not recommending you use them. Check it out for yourself. Do the research. I liked it a lot. So Ouriel, thank you so much for taking the time and speaking to us here.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it. And for all our viewers at home, for Reimagine 2020, I'm Yonah Hochhauser. Thanks for watching.